earthenware dish. And the amazing thing about it is that we think it was made in about 1495, so it's over 500 years old, but it's absolutely perfect. It doesn't have one chip on it. It is intact. Now, I've got mugs and plates that have got chips from being in my house for about 5 years, and it is amazing that this has just been kept in this beautiful condition, despite it being definitely owned and used by many people. And the thing that makes it also very special is because of the way it was made. It's maiolica, and maiolica it's earthenware. So if you know what earthenware is, it's quite kind of heavy duty clay that's been fired. But the way that maiolica is made is that you create a tin glaze, so it's oxides which create this white base coat that you would paint over or dip the earthenware into, and then from that base you then paint on your different colours on top. And that's what gives this maiolica ware, any maiolica ware, its brilliancy, because the white base makes all the colours that you paint on top really, really shine through. And it also means once it's been fired and glazed, that they don't fade. So this looks today exactly as it would have 500 or so years ago. So when you get the chance to come to the museum, come and look at it. It is really special. Now, the story that this tells, this piece, is a story from Ovid's Metamorphosis, and it's a Greek myth. And I think anybody of any age, when you look at Greek myths, they're so interesting and exciting. And the idea of metamorphosis is something that I think is this idea that one person or thing can transform into something else for any artist. If you're creative, so this story is about Diana and Actaeon. This idea of transformation. And Diana was a goddess. She's a Greek goddess, and she was with her nymphs, and she was in the forest or the woods, and they were bathing in a special place in the water. And unbeknown to her, Actaeon, who was a mortal, he was a hunter, and he was with his group of men, and they had come into the woods with their hunting dogs to enjoy hunting, and they were hunting a stag. And by mistake, and without intending to, Actaeon came across Diana, and this is a crucial moment, because she looked round, she saw him, she saw that she had been seen naked and sort of in a kind of really vulnerable situation, and she flicked water from the pool onto Actaeon. And because she was a goddess, what happened next was that this moment was the moment of transformation, and he gradually changed from a mortal man, huntsman, into a stag. And then his hunting dogs arrived and chased him, not realizing that actually the stag that they were chasing was their master. And this dish captures the moment where Diana actually sprinkles or flicks this water onto Actaeon. And if you look carefully, you can see it's sort of green. The artist that has painted this, it's green. Now this scene you will see in many there's many paintings and cultural references to this. So if you look it up, in fact in the Holborn we have a beautiful paper cut by an artist called Mary West, and it's of the same scene. she's depicted it in slightly different way, but you will see this in many, many paintings. And on this particular plate, we have this image of Actaeon where he's half stag and half human. So it is the absolute moment of change when this happens. So it's a really exciting and beautiful image. And people would have owned plates like this one, very wealthy people, to show their guests that they were educated and that they had read these Greek myths and knew them, and they were almost like a kind of conversation starter. So if you were sitting down to eat and you were eating from a dish like this, it would be something where you could start having a conversation, a learned conversation about these things, which I love that idea. And I think, it's an interesting idea, the things we have around us and how they help us to connect with other people and talk to other people and share ideas. So that just gives you a brief introduction to the Maiolica plate, and I'm delighted now to introduce you to Lucia, who has worked with the Holborn for many years on different projects, and she has designed the workshop today, or the activity today. So I'll hand over.
Great. Well, thanks. It's so lovely to be here actually, and actually see some people, and hopefully inspire you to do something creative. Yes, so I love that Maiolica plate, and it just, like so many objects in the Holborn, just gets my imagination going and really sort of, I don't know, just sort of takes me on a journey. And I don't know about anyone else, but I live in a house with quite a lot of objects in it. So I've probably got more than some people. And yes, my workshop, I'm going to start by actually just reading I don't know if you've downloaded it, but the printout of my activity is called Telling Tales. And I always like to do this at the beginning of my workshop. It sort of sets it off. All the objects within our collection have their own story to tell, if only they could talk. And some are made to tell a particular story or myth. For today's activity, draw an object you own that has a story and enjoy decorating it with pictures to tell its tale, taking inspiration from our collection. Okay, so in my activity, I began with this object here. This is my granny's shoe. And sadly, she's not with us anymore, but she'd be pretty old if she was. I've got the pair and I wear them sometimes as well. They're quite comfortable, actually. And this shoe, to me, just totally represents my granny. It just makes me think of her. So this was my starting point. Now, when choosing an object, you want to choose one definitely that has a kind of quite a good surface, because you want to be able to put your design onto something. You might like a pencil, but that's never going to give you a good surface to draw on. So yeah, think about the surface you're choosing. I like the fact this has got a sort of interior space as well. Look at that lovely cobbling bit on the heel. I love that. It's just a yummy thing. But you might want to choose something more, sort of day to day, like it might just be a mug. That's a lovely, simple object to choose. It might have come, you might have got it from a workplace, or somebody might have given it to you, somebody who's quite sort of special to you, or you might have got it on a travel. It might remind you of something like that, or something might have been passed down to you equally. Obviously, when we do our drawing of the object, we're not going to add the surface design on there. It's going to be nice and sort of ready for you to do your own thing. What else have I got here? I've got a funny little watering can that was given to me by somebody. Keep it, I'd suggest quite a simple object, so that, getting a bit complicated, it'd be harder, you just want that nice clear surface. What else have I got? Here's a little ornament, which also equally you would draw without all the decoration on, that might tell a little tale there. So going back to my shoe, so the next thing I did with my shoe is I made a drawing of it, a simple line drawing. That means you don't have to do lots of tone and things. You're just drawing the simple object itself. Let me get this right. Can you see that? There we go. So you can see that I have actually added a tiny bit of tone. I've added in a little bit just around here, there. And I've also, can you see the stitching around the edge as well? A little bit of the stitching there, just tiny bits of detail. So that's your shoe drawing. And don't worry, don't panic, because I will be giving you a little bit of a how to do that in a moment. So then what I did is I actually, what you can do with your object is it's quite nice if you maybe phone a friend, sounds like some sort of quiz show, and talk through your object, because actually talking about it brings out your memories or your thoughts about it. I mean, you might choose an object that hasn't, you don't actually know where it came from. It just is the most intriguing object. And maybe you want to start to imagine what that object is. This is up to you. This is your journey with this object. You might want to just write your ideas down about the object, your memories or thoughts. I did a bit of a brainstorm on mine, but then I came up with this. This was my drawing of my granny's shoe. You see, hoping you've got that well in there. So you can see here, I've got, this is an apple here. She used to sit me on her knee and she could peel an apple all in one go, with the peel just really, really long. And that's her little apple knife up here, her little peeling knife. And I used to love it as a child. It used to be a little competition to see if she could do it. And then up here we've got the magic thimble. So she used to make up these stories about a magic thimble. And they used to, travel all around the place. So down here, I think we've got one of the fairies from that story. And she was a Lancashire lass, and she loved to walk in the moors. So we've got the hillside here inside the show. I love the inside interior space in there, and so we can see that. And I've got some little detailing as well, like for example the grass, bits of grass, and I've got it up here as well to sort of tie it in together, and little birds and things, just to sort of bring it together as a drawing. So you can add anything in there. So that's my shoe. So for our workshop, I chose a fairly simple little object. So I want you to go out and do your thing and get creative. I don't want to be boring you for too long with my drawing and showing you. So I've chosen this tiny little object here. Well, it's not so tiny, but it's a little vase. And that was given to me by a Brazilian friend. So obviously your object doesn't have to have an exotic story behind it or anything, but this just happens to be from Brazil. And it makes me think of visiting this friend and the sort of adventures and things that we got up to in Brazil and Brazil itself. So that's my object. Now, the first thing you need to do is get your object in place comfortably. Now, where are you going to put that object? You need it sort of enough in front of you so that it's not too near and not too far. I've got mine propped up on a million things here, especially to get it a good height for you. So I've got a few sketchbooks here, a gaffer tape and another little box. So at this point in your view, you've got it very straight on the top. You might want to angle it. So you could, if you've got an object you can see inside, just so you can see inside there, gives you an extra area to draw in. You might want to use, I've got a rubber there. I don't think do I need to do it for my drawing? Maybe not, no, I can see it. So, prop it into the right spot. There we go. And before we go to the magic of the down zoom, looking downwards, I'm just going to show you one other thing. Right, you're choosing what to draw with. I'm going to draw with pencil. I love drawing with Baro as well. Black Baro is a friend, but pencil is great because I can rub it out. So if I go wrong, it's wonderful. So your pencil can be used not only as a drawing device, but also as a measuring device. So I'm just pulling up the sleeves, getting ready here. So what you want to do, you don't have to do this at all. We all got our own ways of doing things, but if you want to use this way of doing it, you basically get your arm a nice straight out, no bends in it. And you can use your thumb, you see, as an up and down sort of place to mark. So what I'd start by doing is I want to work out what is the tallest, the point of the tallest height of the object and the widest width of the object. So I can fit it on my page nice and neatly. So I'm going to start by, I like it that way up actually. Get the height of my object like that. So that's I've got my thumb in place. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it horizontally and find this is the widest point and compare that to the width of my vase. If you see how I'm shaking, it's not nerves, it's because I'm a bit chilly. I'm in a cold bay window. So that's just over half of the height of my object there. So that's that. And just before we move on to here, the other way you can use your pencil is to find angles. So actually I'm going to use this one here. This is a good example. So often to find an angle, I will use my pencil in a sort of vertical position like so. And then if I hold it up against an object like that, I can actually visualize. And what I'm doing here is I'm visualizing a sort of a kind of triangle there, so that when I come back to my paper, I can compare and lie my pencil down on the paper. And I just sort of can quite easily see if the angle looks the same as the one when I'm holding it up. Is it the same as that one? There are all sorts of ways you can use your pencil. You can maybe Google that and have a look. It's interesting what you can do to measure, but I'm going to keep it simple today. I don't want to scare you off. So let's put that there. Right, I think I'm ready for the looking down. So you're going to just be onto my hands now. Is that it, Emma? Have you got that? Have you got my hands now? There we go. Here we go. Right, that's great. So I've cheated and I've already got some dots in place here. I just wanted to speed up proceedings. So if you remember, I took that measurement of the tallest points. So those are my two measurements there. Now, if you want to compare your width and where that is, you might want to even draw a very, very, very light line down just to help you get the middle part of your object. I haven't done that. And then I'm going to use a very long paintbrush to then get my length, the height of my object like that. And I know that it's, let's find the middle of it, that's middle there. And then I go slightly along. So it's going to be about that width. Okay, so I'm going to bring that down to where I think that is. And there are my 2 points. Then you draw in your 2 points. Okay, and you can use this kind of method to then compare where other things are. You know, you could put your pencil up along your object and say, right, how far is that compared to that? You know, and start using your eye to judge these things. So I've got my dots in place, and the next thing you want to do, unless you just go straight in a freehand with it, is you're going to draw in the lines of your object. Now you can come in nice and gently to start with, just in case you feel like you're going to go wrong. So my hand's feeling a bit steady here. So let's just draw. I'm drawing it in quite nice and strong so you can see it. So, whoops, let's get you in. So there we go. So it's got a sort of inner edge. I'm just looking back at my object, which is far too close to me actually, really. Got a bit of an inner edge there as well. It comes in and bring it down. And I'm actually going to bring in a little bit more detail than just the very simple line, because if I bring in, for example, this sort of lip here on the neck of my vase, it gives me a little area of detail where I might be able to add a little bit of design in there. It's something extra sort of interest to my overall object. So let's just get these lines in now. We don't want to be here all day, do we? We want to get out there. That's it. I might just add an extra bit in here. Let's have a look. And of course, I've got a nice curve on my object. Put that up there, like so. So yes, you can see that. That's nice and clear, isn't it? So there we go. You know, it's not perfect. Maybe it could have been a bit more squashed down, but you know, who needs perfection? We just want to get on with this and make it, you know, look great. So there we go. We've got our drawing. So the next thing we need to do is think about the story of our object. Now, there are all sorts of ways you can do your drawings on here. I've got actually on my sheet, I've got some sort of design inspiration page here. Come up slightly, and you can see there's all sorts of ways. This is the Willow pattern, which you may have seen, and it's traditionally sort of thing, you know, within the sort of plates and things you'll see around. But this one's been changed around a bit by Stoke-on-Trent, who've sort of given their own take on it with a sort of industrial bit there and a boat there. These are some actual little detailed patterns from the Diana and Actium plate when you get to see it, which are amidst the plate, which really sort of tie it all in. You might want to add your own little sort of decorative details. This is from an African wax print, which all tells sort of different stories, which is more specific. I like this one here. This is a Tibetan wedding plate because it's just simple. I love the simplicity of it. The drawings aren't very refined. They're just quite rough and ready. And I like that. Your drawings don't have to be, you know, some sort of 5 hour on each thing. They can be very simple. So there's that anyway. Now let's find my brainstorm. It's here. Here's my brainstorm. I might bring it up a little bit so you can just see it there. So I've got all sorts going on there. Let's have a look, just a quick look at this. My friend, he's an artist. So I've done a little bit of a representation of his art there. He loves to draw crumbling churches, and that's something I've done quite a bit with him, go around different little places in Brazil drawing churches, interestingly enough. And this here is a bus with a Brazilian Indian arrow underneath. And the reason that's there is because there was a particular bus I had to get to his, which was had a Brazilian Indian name. And it was, I can remember it off by heart now, Anhangabaú. It took me a long time, and with lots of Brazilian people laughing at me, learning to pronounce that. And all sorts of things here. I won't maybe be able to get everything to fit onto my vase, but those are some ideas there. So right, here I am with my vase in front of me. I've got my pencil at the ready. That's it. And now I need to fit it on. Actually, that's not my good pencil. That's my good pencil. Need to fit it onto my vase. So let's have a go. I'm going to start by, you might want to plot yours out. I'm just going to hurl myself in. I'm going to start with some hills here. I do like hills. Let's get some hills on there. Now, when you're drawing on your object, obviously your object has a curve to it or a shape or form. So it's good to think whilst you're drawing it, how you might accentuate that. So you don't want to just look suddenly like it's all very 2D. You want to somehow curve, you know, maybe make that one a little bit smaller so it looks like it's curving off around the edge there. Probably throwing myself with my hills. No, we're all right, we're in there. There's my hills. But you can really mix up your pictures. I'm going to do his little house. He's building a little house up on the hillside. So there we go. We've got the little house. I could spend hours doing this, but I don't want to spend hours for you. So let's speed this up. Let's just get a pencil up here, and I'm going to just do his pencil coming up here. Let's get a pencil and a paintbrush. Oh, I've got room for my paintbrush. Let's just get you in there. A little bit wonky woo, but we won't worry about that. So that's that. Probably refine that if I could. Maybe in this edge, I could put, in the olden days, we used to send each other old airmail letters. So I might just do a little decorative sort of edge of airmail letters. So you sort of get the gist, don't you? We're coming in here with a design and carrying on, maybe some little leaf around here in the slightly sort of Greek tradition. So there we go. We've got a beginning of a design going on there. So the next thing you're going to need to decide on is, do I want to add colour? You know, once you've done it, what do I think? With my shoe, for example, I just added a very little bit of colour, not much, and I wouldn't want to add much more than that. You can see I actually have a blue line for my drawing. That's because I did this one on an iPad. But of course, it's exactly the same as drawing by hand. It makes no difference. Right, for my purposes, I'm going to use a colour pencil, which is also a watercolour pencil. You could use felt tips if you want to add colour. You could use paint if you've got paints, anything like that. But the only thing I'll say is, if you do use paints, just make sure you make the paint really quite watery, because when you wash across here, you don't want to lose your line. Keep it nice and sort of very watery. Okay, so I'm just going to do a couple of hills to give you the idea. Just find my water. Here it is. Right, let's pop that there. So let's get a bit of colour in here. So this is just like a normal colouring pencil. Something that hasn't been totally ruined my children. I managed to find in the house. There we go. So we're colouring in. That's it. And then the beauty of watercolour pencils is that you can come then in with your paintbrush and it starts to move around the page. It's really nice. But obviously, colour pencils are beautiful in themselves. You do not need this. Just whatever you've got knocking around your house, really. You know, felt tips are good. Highlighter pens, anything. A little splash of colour and you're away. So, is there anything else I need to say? I mean, that's pretty much it. It's over to you with your creative ideas and how you want to do it. Have I missed anything out, anyone? That's it, really. Oh, one thing I will say, actually, I've just remembered, is you can also add in words. If you think of if you look at the Maiolica plate, it's got Latin around the middle or whatever. Obviously, you don't have to use Latin, but you might think of the sort of some words of poetry or just words that describe your story also is a nice idea. So that was my other thought as well. So that's it. I'm done and dusted, and I hope that helps. I hope that's given you some nice ideas.
Thank you.